The Nexari warships emerged from quantum space with predatory grace, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight like faceted diamonds. High Admiral Zixtal stood on his command deck, mandibles clicking in anticipation as he surveyed the human mining operation spread across asteroid BX-279. Such primitive infrastructure, such basic shielding, hardly befitting a species that dared to expand into Nexari-claimed space. Curious, his second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Vector, observed. Their sensors must detect us, yet they continue operations. No evacuation, no distress calls. Because they are fools, Zixtal replied, his iridescent scales shifting to display patterns of dominance and contempt. They thought their diplomatic gestures and trade agreements would protect them. They thought wrong. The mining facility was impressive by human standards, a sprawling complex of habitat domes and processing centers anchored to the asteroid's rocky surface. Nearly 10,000 humans worked there, extracting rare minerals. The Nexari Imperium had marked for itself centuries before these primitives achieved spaceflight. All ships in attack formation, Zixtal commanded. Target their life support systems first. Let them experience true terror before the end. The first volley of quantum-tipped missiles streaked across space. Zixtal expected desperate pleas for mercy, perhaps some futile attempt at resistance, using the crude weapons humans were known to possess. Instead, there was only silence. The missiles never reached their targets. They simply vanished. One moment they existed, the next they were gone, as if space itself had swallowed them whole. Impossible, Vector whispered, his scales shifting to display confusion. Our targeting was perfect. The human defenses couldn't possibly. The space around the mining facility rippled like disturbed water. Where moments before there had been only industrial infrastructure, now there were other shapes emerging, sleek, predatory vessels that seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. They had been there all along, hidden behind veils of distorted spacetime. Full scan. Zixtal barked, but his sensors could make no sense of what they were seeing. The human ships, if they could even be called that, appeared to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, their hulls phasing in and out of normal spacetime like ghostly predators. "Sir," his weapons officer called out, scales now displaying pure terror, their power signatures. They're beyond anything in our database. These readings suggest technology centuries ahead of our own. A transmission cut through every frequency, bypassing encryption as if it didn't exist. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force vessel Nightwing. I must thank you, Admiral Zixtal. We've spent decades waiting for someone to fall for our little charade. Welcome to humanity's true face." The human ships moved with impossible grace, their drives seeming to ignore the basic laws of physics. Weapons fire from the Nexari fleet passed harmlessly through them, while their return volleys struck with devastating precision, their energy beams bypassing shields as if they weren't there. Impossible. Zixtal roared as his flagship systems began failing one by one. The humans are primitives. We've monitored their development for decades. "No," Commander Chen's voice carried a predator's satisfaction. "You monitored what we wanted you to see. Every crude ship, every seemingly primitive weapon, all part of an elaborate masquerade. While the galaxy thought us technological infants, we prepared. We built. We waited." Through his viewing screen, Zixtal watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled by ships that danced through space like vengeful spirits. Human vessels phased through solid matter, attacked from multiple dimensions simultaneously, and wielded weapons that seemed to bend reality itself. "You see, Admiral," Chen continued, her voice almost gentle now, "humanity learned something from our own bloody history. The most dangerous predator isn't the one that shows its teeth. It's the one that waits patiently, hidden in plain sight, until the perfect moment to strike." As his ship's systems crashed around him, Zixtal finally understood. The humans hadn't been developing slowly. They had been sandbagging, deliberately displaying technological restraint while building something far more terrifying in secret. His attack wasn't a show of force. It was the springing of a trap decades in the making. Your punishment for this attack won't just be military, Chen explained as the Nightwing's quantum fields began tearing Zixtal's flagship apart at the molecular level. It will be educational. The galaxy is about to learn a very important lesson about humanity. Never mistake our patience for weakness. As his ship died around him, Zixtal realized his Imperium hadn't been dealing with primitive upstarts at all. They had been dancing with dragons pretending to be lizards, and now those dragons were done pretending. Deep within the Titan military complex, Fleet Admiral Helena Volkov stood before the assembled Earth Defense Council, her holographic displays showing the destruction of the Nexari attack fleet from multiple angles. The council chamber, carved from the moon's ice and reinforced with quantum-stabilized materials, hummed with barely contained energy. The Nexari lost 26 capital ships in under 14 minutes, Volkov reported, her voice carrying the weight of 2 decades of preparation. 0 human casualties. Project Shadowcast has exceeded even our most optimistic projections. Council member Zhang leaned forward, his eyes reflecting the holographic debris field. After all these years of hiding our true capabilities, the galaxy will soon know everything. Are we ready for the consequences? Volkov's smile was sharp as a blade. Director Chen's task force didn't just destroy their fleet. They secured their quantum cores intact. The Nexari can't even self-destruct properly when our phase fields are active. Right now, their high command still thinks they lost contact due to a communications malfunction. The displays shifted to show other human fleets emerging from hidden bases throughout the solar system. Ships that bent light around their hulls, vessels that could slip between dimensions, weapons that treated the laws of physics as polite suggestions rather than hard rules. For 30 years, Volkov continued, we've maintained the greatest deception in human history. Every primitive ship we showed the galaxy contained sensor ghosts of our real capabilities. Every basic weapon we demonstrated had fragments of our true technology hidden in plain sight. The Nexari didn't just fail to detect our strength. They actively convinced themselves of our weakness. The chamber's main display showed footage from humanity's first contact with the galactic community decades earlier. Volkov's predecessor, Admiral Chen, deliberately displaying outdated technology, carefully crafting humanity's image as an emerging civilization still struggling with basic spaceflight. The Nexari weren't the first species to underestimate humanity, Volkov said, bringing up historical archives. But they will be the last. Project Shadowcast wasn't just about developing superior technology. It was about understanding how advanced civilizations think. Their own history made them incapable of conceiving our strategy. Security Chief Rivera's voice cut through the quiet. They evolved past their violent stages, forgot the art of deception. We didn't. We just got better at it. The displays showed human ships appearing inside Nexari defense grids, phasing through solid matter, firing weapons that ignored conventional shields, quantum fields that could rewrite local spacetime, drives that could slit between dimensions, armor that adapted to any attack. Every trade agreement, every technological exchange was carefully managed, Volkov explained. We showed them exactly what they expected to see. Another young race, eager to learn, technically primitive. Meanwhile, our quantum laboratories were breaking physics itself. New alerts flashed across the displays. Nexari battle groups mobilizing, their high command finally realizing something was wrong. Volkov's expression turned predatory. They're gathering their forces, she announced. 6 full battle fleets. They still think this is a conventional war. She gestured, and the displays showed human vessels moving into position, hidden behind veils of distorted spacetime. They're about to learn otherwise. Council member Zhang raised a hand. The civilian populations will be protected, Volkov interrupted. Our phase fields can evacuate entire colonies in minutes if necessary. But the Nexari crossed a line. They didn't just attack us. They proved why Project Shadowcast was necessary. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity's peaceful face wasn't weakness. It was choice. The displays showed more human ships emerging from hidden docks throughout the solar system. Vessels that had been built in secret, crews trained in facilities hidden beneath the ice of distant moons, weapons tested in pocket dimensions where their energy signatures couldn't be detected. Operation Awakening is now in effect, Volkov declared. All fleet commanders have their targets. The Nexeri thought they could bully what they saw as a primitive species. Instead, they'd given us justification to reveal our true capabilities to the galaxy. Through quantum entanglement communications that the Nexeri couldn't detect or interrupt, orders went out to human forces throughout known space. Ships that had pretended to be simple merchant vessels or outdated cruisers shed their disguises, revealing weapons and defenses that made their previous appearances seem like children's toys. "Let them come," Volkov said, watching the Nexeri fleets gather. "Let them bring every ship, every weapon, every strategy they possess. They're about to learn why humanity's ancient myths speak of dragons, and why those dragons often appeared in forms their prey didn't expect until it was too late." The council chamber grew quiet as the implications of 3 decades of deception and preparation became clear. Humanity hadn't just been developing in secret. They had been actively managing the galaxy's perception of their capabilities, playing a long game that was about to reach its culmination. "Send word to all human worlds," Volkov commanded. "The mask is off. Show them what we really are." Supreme Commander Ixal of the Nexeri Imperium watched in mounting horror as reports flooded into the Grand Strategy Chamber. The crystalline displays showed impossible scenes, human ships appearing inside heavily fortified systems, weapons that ignored their strongest defenses, drives that seemed to break the fundamental laws of physics. Sixth Fleet lost contact at the Varick stronghold. A tactical officer reported, his scales shifting to display patterns of fear. Fifth Fleet reports multiple quantum anomalies at. They're gone too. Just gone. The human vessels moved like ghost stories made real. They phased through solid matter, attacked from multiple dimensions simultaneously, and wielded weapons that bent reality itself. But what truly terrified Ixal was the methodical precision of their attacks. This wasn't blind revenge. This was a carefully orchestrated campaign planned long in advance. Aboard the Earth vessel Prometheus, Fleet Captain Maya Rodriguez watched her tactical display with cold satisfaction. Her quantum phase battle group had just eliminated another Nexeri stronghold, their advanced weapons leaving no trace of the once mighty fortress except scattered atoms and broken dreams. Target Beta 7 neutralized, her AI reported. Phase shift complete. Ready for next jump. Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. The Nexeri still hadn't realized that their mighty defensive networks, their supposedly impregnable fortresses, had been compromised decades ago. Every time they'd allowed a human merchant ship to dock, every primitive human vessel they'd scanned, all had carried quantum seeds that had been quietly mapping their systems from the inside out. "All ships, prepare for dimensional shift," she ordered. "Execute Operation Lightbringer." The Prometheus and its escort fleet seemed to blur, their quantum drives bending space-time around them. They emerged inside another Nexeri stronghold, their arrival breaking every known law of physics. The Nexeri defenders barely had time to register shock before reality itself turned against them. Back in the Grand Strategy Chamber, Ixal received the reports with growing despair. "How?" he demanded. "Their technology was primitive. We monitored them for decades." His chief scientist, Vexra, displayed patterns of grim understanding. "No, Commander. We monitored what they wanted us to see. Look at these energy signatures, these quantum patterns. These aren't recent developments. This technology has been refined over decades. Every primitive human ship we encountered was a carefully crafted lie." On dozens of worlds across Nexeri space, hidden human agents activated dormant quantum beacons, Reality rippled as more human vessels emerged from nowhere, their true forms finally revealed. Ships that had posed as simple freighters transformed, shedding their disguises like snakes shedding skin. Aboard the Prometheus, Rodriguez received confirmation after confirmation. All strike teams report success, her tactical officer announced. The Nexeri defense grid is completely compromised. Their quantum communications network is under our control. Send the message, Rodriguez commanded. Throughout Nexeri space, on every screen and holographic display, human Admiral Volkov's face appeared. People of the Nexeri Imperium, she began, her voice carrying the weight of decades of preparation. You are witnessing the consequences of your leadership's fatal error. They mistook our patience for weakness, our restraint for inability. The displays showed human ships systematically dismantling Nexeri defenses, using technology that made mockery of what the galaxy thought humans capable of. For 30 years, we hid our true capabilities. We played the part of primitive newcomers while preparing for exactly this scenario. Your leaders thought they could bully what they saw as a young, weak species. Instead, they justified the revelation of humanity's real face to the galaxy. In the Grand Strategy Chamber, Ixal watched his empire's military infrastructure collapse. Human vessels appeared at will within their most secure facilities. Weapons they'd thought centuries beyond human capability tore through their strongest defenses like paper. Each attack was precisely calculated, deliberately non-lethal to civilian populations, but utterly devastating to military assets. We could have been allies, Volkov's message continued. We could have shared our advancements, grown together. Instead, you chose aggression against what you thought was an easy target. That choice has consequences. Rodriguez watched from her command chair as another Nexeri battle fleet discovered the futility of conventional tactics against human quantum technology. Their weapons passed harmlessly through human ships while precision strikes reduced their vessels to component atoms. The Nexeri still don't understand, her tactical officer observed. They're fighting as if this is a war of technology, not realizing it's already over. We won this war 30 years ago, when we first decided to hide our true capabilities. They evolved past deception, Rodriguez replied, watching another fortress fall to quantum weapons. Forgot that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that doesn't show its teeth until it's too late. We didn't forget. We just got better at it. As the carefully orchestrated campaign continued, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. The species they dismissed as technological infants revealed themselves to be masters of deception and war, wielding power that seemed to border on magic. The dragons had finally shown their teeth, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the quantum-shielded war room of the Nexeri's last major stronghold, High General Caxtil watched the tactical displays with growing desperation. The humans weren't just winning. They were toying with them, demonstrating capabilities that seemed to expand with each engagement. 9th Defense Fleet reports contact with human vessels, his aide announced. There, sir, they're requesting surrender before engagement. Caxtil's scales rippled with frustrated rage. The humans had been doing this systematically, offering mercy before each battle, then demonstrating overwhelming superiority when refused. It wasn't just warfare, it was psychological devastation. Aboard the Earth vessel Shadowdancer, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the unfolding strategy with calculated precision. Her ship hung in a pocket dimension just microseconds out of phase with normal spacetime, invisible to even the most advanced Nexeri sensors. They're moving their remaining fleets to defensive positions around their core worlds, her strategic AI reported. Exactly as predicted. Chen nodded, studying the complex quantum projections that showed possible future battle scenarios. They still think this is about territory and military assets. They haven't realized this entire campaign is about education. The displays showed human strike forces engaging Nexeri ships across dozens of systems. But these weren't battles. They were demonstrations. Each engagement revealed new capabilities, new technologies that the humans had kept hidden for decades. Launch Operation Ghost Dance. Chen commanded. Across Nexari space, human ships began a deadly ballet. Vessels phased in and out of reality, appearing inside planetary defense shields, neutralizing entire battle groups without firing a shot. Quantum fields rewrote local spacetime, leaving Nexari ships frozen in temporal stasis or flying backwards through their own attack patterns. In his command bunker, Caxtil received increasingly frantic reports. "Sir, human ships are. They're accessing our quantum cores directly, shutting down entire fleets without damaging them. They're not destroying our ships, they're turning them off." "Impossible," Caxtil whispered, but he'd used that word so often lately it had lost all meaning. "Our quantum cores are based on principles that we thought humans didn't understand," his science officer interrupted. "But look at these readings. They're not just using advanced technology. They're using principles we haven't even discovered yet." Aboard the Shadow Dancer, Chen received confirmation of another successful operation. Human ships had penetrated the quantum networks controlling Nexari automated defense systems. Instead of destroying them, they were reprogramming them, turning the Nexari's own technology against them with elegant precision. "They're attempting to activate their desperate measures protocols," her tactical officer reported, "trying to trigger their superweapon projects." Chen allowed herself a cold smile. "Show them why that's a mistake." Throughout Nexari space, hidden quantum triggers activated. Every superweapon facility, every doomsday device the Nexari had developed suddenly found itself contained within localized pocket dimensions. They could detonate their weapons, but the explosions would harm only themselves. "Send the next message," Chen ordered. On every Nexari command channel, in every military facility, screens lit up with the same transmission. This time, it showed detailed scans of Nexari ships, bases, and weapons. Scans that had been taken years or even decades ago. "Your entire military infrastructure," Chen's voice explained calmly, "has been compromised since our first contact. Every time you scanned our primitive ships, you were being scanned in return. Every trade delegation, every diplomatic mission, all gathered data for this moment." In his bunker, Caxtil watched with growing horror as the transmission showed human ships that had visited Nexari ports years ago, disguised as simple merchant vessels. The scans revealed their true nature: advanced warships hidden behind quantum camouflage, gathering intelligence while playing the role of technological inferiors. "We could have ended this war in the first hour," Chen continued. "We could have struck without warning, just as you did to our colony. Instead, we chose to demonstrate why your assumptions about humanity were so desperately wrong." The displays showed new human ships emerging from quantum space, their designs unlike anything seen before. They moved with impossible grace, their technology so advanced it bordered on artistry. "You thought humans were simple because we appeared simple." Chen's voice carried something almost like pity. "You never asked why a species with our history of warfare, our proven capacity for violence, would advance so slowly in military technology. You saw what you expected to see, and that was your downfall." Caxtil watched as another defense fleet went dark, their quantum cores shut down by human technology that shouldn't exist. Each engagement wasn't just a defeat, it was a lesson written in humiliation and lost pride. "We're not fighting this war to destroy you," Chen concluded. "We're fighting it to teach you, and through you, the entire galaxy, why appearances should never be trusted, why assuming technological superiority based on apparent development is a mistake that can cost empires." As the message ended, Caxtil realized the humans had never needed their advanced weapons or impossible ships. Their greatest weapon had been patience, the willingness to spend decades preparing, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal their true nature. They hadn't just outfought the Nexari. They had outfought them before the first shot was fired. The Grand Council chamber of the Nexari Imperium had never known such silence. Supreme Leader Vaxter stood before the assembled leadership of his civilization, the weight of inevitable surrender heavy on his shoulders. The holographic displays showed the complete devastation of their military might, not through destruction, but through systematic neutralization. "The humans request our presence for negotiations," he announced, his scales displaying patterns of defeat. "They have already provided coordinates within our most secure facility." As if to emphasize humanity's complete control of the situation, a section of reality shifted in the center of the chamber. Space itself seemed to fold, and suddenly Admiral Helena Volkov stood among them. Having bypassed every defense system, the Nexari possessed as easily as walking through an open door. "Your defenses remain impressive," Volkov said, her voice carrying neither mockery nor pride. "They would have been quite effective against the civilization you thought we were." In orbit above the Nexari homeworld, the Earth vessel Prometheus hung like a sword of Damocles. Captain Rodriguez watched the quantum feeds of the negotiation, her ship's sensors simultaneously monitoring every military installation on the planet below. The Nexari could no more hide their activities from her than an infant could hide a toy behind their back. "You could have destroyed us at any time," Vaxter stated, not a question, but a realization. "We could have destroyed you 30 years ago," Volkov corrected, "when we first encountered your civilization and recognized the threat you might one day pose. Instead, we chose a different path." The chamber's displays activated, showing scenes from decades of human-Nexari interactions. Every seemingly primitive human ship, every trade delegation, every diplomatic exchange, all part of an elaborate deception. "Your military analysts predicted we would achieve quantum phase technology in approximately 300 years, Volkov continued. "We had mastered it before we ever met you. Every time you scanned our ships, studied our weapons, analyzed our capabilities, you were seeing exactly what we wanted you to see." "But why?" asked First Scientist Nixtal, her scales showing genuine curiosity beneath the fear. "Why maintain such an elaborate deception?" Volkov's smile was both gentle and terrible. "Because humanity learned something from our own bloody history. The most dangerous moment for any civilization is not when it faces an obvious threat, but when it believes itself superior. You saw what you expected to see. A young species, technologically primitive, expanding too quickly. You never questioned why a species with humanity's documented history of warfare would develop so slowly in military technology." The displays showed new images, hidden human shipyards beneath the ice of distant moons, quantum laboratories phased just slightly out of normal spacetime, weapons tests conducted in pocket dimensions where their energy signatures couldn't be detected. Project Shadowcast wasn't just about developing superior technology, Volkov explained. It was about understanding how advanced civilizations think. Your own history made you incapable of conceiving our strategy. You evolved past deception, forgot that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that doesn't show its teeth until it's too late. In the silence that followed, the implications of 3 decades of human planning sank in. They hadn't just been outfought. They had been outthought on a civilizational level. "These are our terms," Volkov stated, producing a quantum data crystal. "They are, I think you'll find, surprisingly generous. We don't want your territory, your resources, or your submission. What we want is understanding." The terms appeared on every display in the chamber. The Nexari would retain their independence, their territory, even most of their military capabilities. But they would acknowledge humanity's true technological level publicly, and they would share the story of their mistake with the galaxy. "Your choice to attack what you thought was a defenseless human colony wasn't just an act of aggression," Volkov concluded. "It was an opportunity, one we've been waiting decades for. The galaxy needed to learn that appearances can be deceiving, that assuming technological superiority based on apparent development is a mistake that can cost empires." As Supreme Leader Vaxter moved to accept the terms, Rodriguez watched from orbit with a sense of completion. The dragons had revealed themselves, but they had done so with precision and purpose. The galaxy would never again mistake humanity's peaceful overtures for weakness. In the decades that followed, The story of the Nexary's mistake became a cautionary tale told throughout the galaxy. Species that might have considered similar acts of aggression looked at the seemingly primitive civilizations on their borders and wondered, were they seeing reality or another mask? And humanity. They continued to explore, to trade, to extend friendship to new civilizations. But now they did so openly, displaying their true capabilities, their advanced ships no longer hidden behind veils of quantum deception. The dragons had shown their teeth and found they no longer needed to hide them. The greatest deception in human history had served its purpose. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never mistake patience for weakness, restraint for inability, or apparent simplicity for actual limitation. Because sometimes the species that seems to be playing catch-up has actually been waiting for the perfect moment to reveal they were ahead all along.